Hi, my name is David Ingram. I'm a senior SDET with numerous years of experience leading QA teams at both large organizations and tiny startups. Regardless of all the various sizes of your team or organization, though, the future is going to impact all of us. So, in order to understand the future of QA leadership, we need to know where QA and software is heading today so we can start to then break down some actionable items to get ahead of it. So we have a lot to talk about. Let's dive into some current trends that are having the biggest impact on engineering. First and foremost, a big one is automation first. Right now in software, there's heavy emphasis on automation skill sets over traditional manual testing. Now that there's a wide market of available and impactful tools, things like Playwright, Cypress, Selenium make it very easy, especially those without initial coding experience, to get in and start to write automation tests. However, there's also no-code or low-code tools, which make it even easier for those with less technical backgrounds to have that automated impact. With all of these tools available, there is now this shift into having automation first over manual within your teams and organizations. So having that automation skill set is going to be more crucial than ever. Another current trend is shifting left. I'm sure you've heard this buzzword and this people talk about it, but essentially at a high level, it just means integrating testing and quality checks earlier in the software development lifecycle, meaning that testing no longer occurs explicitly after development has finished a ticket. Rather, as soon as an idea gets planned, quality conversations begin. So you get involved in planning, you start raising concerns. That way, throughout the entire software development lifecycle, we are mitigating risk from the initial from the initial concept. So if you've ever found yourself in a team where you're siloed into only making an impact during the traditional testing phase of software development, that's going to change, if not now, then certainly in the upcoming years. It wouldn't be also a trend discussion without acknowledging AI. AI is going to have a bigger impact on engineering, so we need to make sure that we get ahead of that and understand how to use it. And then finally, I want to acknowledge varied testing types. So this just means testing types that aren't traditionally focused on, such as end-to-end testing or unit testing, API testing, things that are going to be more crucial moving forward. I'm talking about testing types such as accessibility testing, so having greater awareness and to include those with disabilities within your application, security testing, which might sound goofy, but it's still, I believe, undervalued and under focused on today. It seems like once a month, a large organization, an organization that you would consider mature, that would have a good engineering team, is still having data breaches. So security testing can impact everybody, and it's gaining a lot more focus and traction. And then finally, things like rollback testing, stress testing, chaos testing, anything that I would consider like breakage testing, breaking your app and seeing how your app breaks, but also how your app recovers is going to be critical moving forward. A big reason for this is, of course, CrowdStrike, that fun and famous bug, the most expensive bug in history, where they hosed millions of machines, which that impact and that risk could have been mitigated by doing a lot more breakage testing and recovery testing and understanding what if this happened, how do we recover? So knowing that about these trends though, and the general trends that are happening in the quality landscape, we can then start to break down these themes into these actionable items in order to stay ahead as a QA leader. So let's begin by taking a look at some technical strategies. First and foremost, you have to master automation moving forward. This might sound obvious, but in order to be a true QA leader, you have to have a solid understanding of an automation tool and be able to make an impact with that tool. I'm not saying you have to know all the languages out there, how to use every tool. Heck, you could even just be an expert in a no-code tool. You might not code at all, but if you know that tool and you can write those automation test cases with it, you can then train others to do the same. But you have to master that tool yourself before you can help others. More importantly, though, just knowing it isn't enough. You have to have an understanding of the why. So what do I mean by this? This means that you are going to have to understand why you do something in automation more than just how to do it. This is talking about best practices, being able to recognize good things from the bad things. So, for instance, why did I use this selector? Why did I make this assertion? Why am I using this data? Why am I running my test this way? Asking yourself why, you then begin to realize and can make decisions uh, to improve the efficiency and impact of your tests long term. That way you have less test flake, less unreliable tests, faster tests. We all want these things, but this is what separates a good leader from a great leader on a technical skill set is not just being able to write automation, but to be able to write automation well and recognize when something is good versus bad. And then finally, don't reinvent the wheel. What I mean by this is referencing previously is there's a ton of automation tools out there right now that have extended and in-depth functionality and features. The testing space is hot with innovations right now, lots of creative ideas, and chances are you don't need to create your own solution if you feel like you're missing something. So I would first always research what's out there before just investing in time building something that's probably already available. So with that in mind, let's look at another strategy, which is understanding the software development lifecycle. And this is going to be more important moving forward within the next year, next 2 years. So really getting ahead, especially with shifting left, is quality, and you as a leader are going to have an increased impact throughout the entire life cycle. This means quality first and foremost in those design planning phases. Begin to insert yourself ahead of time. That way you're aware of what work is being created. You can talk about risks. You can plan for testing. You start to have these conversations instead of being reactive about them. This also means having probably basic DevOps knowledge or test ops or QA ops, or I've seen lots of different buzzwords about this, but this essentially means can you on your own configure a pipeline to run your tests when and how you want them to run? Again, not saying you need to be an expert at this, but having this skill set is going to get you ahead of the curve so that you can have more of a well-rounded knowledge of how to make an impact within your team and also to help others. So having a greater knowledge, and I'd encourage you to dive into shifting left, especially understanding the different phases outside of just testing that you can make an impact is going to be incredibly crucial. And so learn your technical gaps now so that you can fill those in and start making an impact outside of just the traditional, again, testing phase. And then I want to acknowledge AI because this one's going to be also very important, especially technically. Do not be afraid of AI. In fact, you should embrace it. The reason I say this is because it's not going anywhere, and that's the honest and hard truth of it all. Trying to fight AI is just going to be a losing battle. So you need to understand the opportunities AI, understand your options out there, chatbot AI, IDE integration, standalone tools, understand then what exists, what options exist, and how they can make an impact for you and your team. You can do this especially to start by optimizing redundancy. If you're finding you're doing a lot of manual work in a certain area that's time costly, try to find an AI tool to mitigate that lost time so you can spend time doing more maybe high priority things. Don't be afraid again of AI though. During the Industrial Revolution, factories transitioned a majority of their employees from manually building things into building these tools that would then automate them with machines into like factory lines. Yet those jobs didn't entirely go away or were completely replaced by this new invention. They just looked a little different. I see something similar today with AI in the engineering space long term. Sure, AI might replace some parts of our jobs, but you're still going to need people to know what it's doing. You need to ensure that AI is actually performing as expected and to configure it and make it more powerful if it isn't. So to truly get ahead of AI, you need to embrace it and just start focusing on becoming an expert at the possibilities of impact that it can do, not only for your team, but also among your team members. Don't fight it. It's a very powerful and exciting tool. It's not going to replace your job and just learn to utilize it as a tool. And that's going to be a lot more attractive long term. Now, I want to shift into maybe some leadership strategy tips and how to, as a leader, less technical, get ahead in the upcoming months. So, want to first focus on a culture a little bit. Really, really critical. This concept of quality is everyone. This goes hand in hand with shifting left, if you're familiar with that. But it's going to be more crucial moving forward that as a QA lead, you need to encourage that quality is not just on QA or testers, but that it starts with everybody. It starts with product, it starts with developers, it starts with DevOps. Everybody is responsible for the quality in your organization. Yes, QA is going to be responsible particularly for the action of testing, but QA is not responsible for quality as a whole. Just because devs push a bug over to QA and we catch it, yes, that's our job, but devs are still responsible for, taking accountability for that bug, ensuring that maybe that they can react and not push a bug similar out that again. Same with product. Product's responsible for the quality of the acceptance criteria, the planning. Quality is everybody, and as a QA lead, it's your job moving forward to start to have those conversations with other areas in your engineering department and encourage everybody that you're all on the same team and responsible. It's not a blame game. It's just shared a culture of ownership. So in addition to that, getting ahead is you have to have a plan for you and your team. A lot of these trends we've talked about, they might be new for your team. And that's okay, but you have to have a plan starting today probably to help train them and guide them forward into new areas over time. Some sort of like continuous learning. Don't ever get stagnant. We're in a really excited time right now with quality where there's so many cool things happening. But if you're not doing them, embracing them, tackling them, jumping in, you're going to fall behind. And then you're going to realize like, oh, we're not doing all these things. We're doing things less efficiently and we don't have the skill sets to keep up. So not only getting ahead, mastering these things yourself, but having that plan for your team is going to be crucial. And then finally, I would also encourage you to build a connected community. So this means staying involved, especially as a leader outside of your organization, within a larger community, such as a great example, of course, is the test drive. On our day to day, you only get to face a single slice of the infinite amount of testing possibilities. So if you limit yourself to focusing only on what you know and what you're doing, you're going to miss so many other things that are happening around you in other organizations. So staying involved in a community really helps you aware of these trends, what people are learning, the tools they're learning, so you can always then implement them into your own day to day and improve your own skill sets together. Many people is more powerful than just a single person, especially when it comes to sharing knowledge. And then finally, I want to talk about this concept of flexibility as a QA leader. First and foremost, remote teams, not as big as these other things we've talked about. And this one's also, of course, been around for a while, especially with starting with COVID, but it's also not going away anytime soon. So as a QA leader, you just have to ensure that you foster a team and a culture where people can thrive remotely. You can thrive in different time zones. I've been lucky enough to work on teams where I work with people 8 hours away from me. And that's exciting, but it also can make work hard. So you have to build that culture, build that process, build that communication pipeline. That way everybody's still working efficiently. And if you're lucky that you get to work with your team in person, that's great too. But at least being aware of how to transition to remote, because I think so many of us have, is going to be important as well. Build a culture of failing fast. Now, failure is okay, and that's weird to say, but these trends are going to force you to embrace new things. So when you do something new, chances are you're going to fail at it. For instance, nobody masters automation the first time. I certainly didn't, and I certainly don't still today. And if you do, please come talk to me because I want to know who you are. But building a culture where you fail fast, where it's okay to fail, and turning those failures into a perspective of positivity allows you to learn from your mistakes quicker, but also encourages others within your team to take those risks and learn as well. So build that culture as a lead. That's really going to make learning these technical trends a lot easier. And then finally, I would suggest that you invest in some sort of metrics. As these new trends hit our QA space in our community, trends, everybody likes a new thing. Trends sound cool, but don't just do them because I'm telling you to do them or the community is telling you to do them. You should always have a reason for what you're doing. So understanding what the trends are supposed to bring allows you then to maybe build metrics around that impact. So when you build those new trends into your process, you can start to track your progress. For instance, automation. If you've only done manual, start just tracking how much time it takes to test or regression test. That's a very easy thing. It takes us 2 days to do manual testing. We're now going to shift to automation. Start tracking. Now it takes us 1 day. Now it takes us half a day because we're building automation. You track your wins, you use metrics, you understand their impact. And then that way you can share your wins and ensure you're doing the right thing. All right, so that's it. Thank you so much. Hopefully some of these technical strategies and leadership strategies help you, and I hope you are able to embrace some of these suggestions. Thank you again for listening, and I look forward to leading the future of QA together with you.